So for labor law unit 1, we started with Trade Unions Act, right? Registration of trade union. Why is that needed? And all those we have studied. Then there were some provisions relating to rights and liabilities of registered trade union. So when a trade union gets registered, it comes with some rights and liabilities for them which they need to follow. Okay, so liabilities as in there will be some restrictions on how funds will be utilized. Like that, there will be some restrictions which they need to follow. And rights as in they would be given some immunities from some obligations under law. Okay, so from some legal obligations, they will be getting some immunities. And when we talk about obligations, there are some rules or process how they can use their funds. Okay, so that is nothing but rights and liabilities. So we have that provision given in Unit 1 relating to their obligations or rights of a registered trade union, or immunities or problems. Yeah. So first of all, there are two funds that are being mentioned. One is general fund and one is another, like specifically it is for political purposes. For political purposes, there can be a separate fund that is maintained by trade unions. So for general fund, how this fund can be utilized, it is given under Section 15 of Trademarks, Trade Unions Act, and it mentions the objectives, the main purposes on which general funds may be utilized. Money from that fund can be used by the registered trade union. So it provides for list of activities or areas for which it can be used, like for paying salaries, allowances, or expenses to office bearers of trade union. Whoever are having this, like there we studied, right, 7 or more members would go for registration, and there would be these members who are actively taking part in the trade union. For their salaries, allowances, or expenses, money will come from this general fund of registered trade union only. For payment of expenses for administration of trade union, including audit of accounts of the general funds of the trade union. So if it is mentioned that auditing is needed every single year, for that purpose, whatever amount is spent, that will come from general funds because it is relating to their administration. If there is some process that they need to pay some fees for their renewal of registration or something, or some other formalities they need to pay because they are a registered body, those administration related expenses also will come from the general fund itself. If there is a case, right, we saw, right, that the registered trade union becomes like a legal entity. Law recognizes it like a juristic person. Like normal person, it can also file a case, defend itself and all that stuff. So for prosecution or defense of any legal proceeding, or to which trade union or any member is a party. So if there are parties against the trade union, someone files a case, or the trade union wants to file a case, in those matters, money will come from the general fund only. You will see there will be certain cases where the registered trade union of a certain workers group will file the case demanding that we want better working condition in this particular industry. In those cases, they will be spending from their general fund only to initiate the case or even to defend themselves. It's not just about the trade union, but even if against members also something is filed wherein it is relating to the purpose of trade union, might be they were fulfilling its terms or conditions or something, there are cases filed. So that time also it will be utilized from the general funds itself. for the purpose of securing and protecting rights of trade union as well as rights arising out of relations of any member with his employer or any person whom the member employs. So just because a person was member of the trade union and he was trying to fulfill the conditions or the objectives of the trade union, there are some cases fine. In such cases, his expenses may also be borne by the trade union, but it would not be like in his private capacity, he is doing something for that trade union would bear the expenses. It's not like that, but for trade union, whatever is done, for there it will be used. So for legal purposes also, legal proceedings, it can be used. Salaries, allowances and expenses of members, administrative expenses, legal proceeding related expenses, whether case is filed or to defend in the case. Conduct of trade dispute on behalf of trade union or any members thereof. For any sort of dispute also, whatever is needed, whatever is required, right? For collective bargaining, we saw, right? There is so much of step that is being followed. First of all, selecting a person who would represent, noting down all the points. And in that process, right, when they are organizing some meetings, everyone is coming together, giving their inputs and stuff. There, whatever is needed, those also will be utilized from the general fund itself. Compensation of member for any loss arising out of trade union. If the trade union decides that, okay, we are going for this strike or something, and there one person suffers special loss or something, there also compensation may be provided to such person, but it will depend on terms or condition of the trade union also. Allowances to member or their dependent in case of death, old age, sickness, accident, or unemployment of such members. It can be used if such provision is being entered. Like there will be this objectives and everything will be mentioned, right? When a trade union is going to register themselves, they will have to mention all the details, what will be their function, what all work they are doing and everything. So whatever they have agreed to do, based on that, it will be decided what all facilities or allowances they are providing to their workers, or rather their members. The issue of or the undertaking of liability under policies of assurance on the lives of members, or under policies in ensuring members against sickness, accident, or unemployment. So whatever they had promised under those objectives that they mentioned at the time of registering the union, in order to fulfill those objectives, whatever is needed, those also can be done. Might be they had assured that, okay, as a trade union, if there is any dispute, we all would collectively go and we would all collectively stand against the employer. If in such a case, employer only targets one person and causes him some loss, the trade union would come in his rescue, that we assured that in case any liability is arising because of fulfilling trade union's purposes, we will be paying the compensation or taking your responsibility or liability. So in such matters also it can be utilized. Then it may provide some additional benefits to the members as well for their welfare, like provision for educational, social, or religious benefits for members, including payment of expenses of funeral or religious ceremonies for deceased members or the dependents of the members. For their dependents also, they can do some stuff like for their educational, social, or religious benefits. It may be that for educational purposes, some amount may be provided to the people, or in case they may be having some scholarship facility or something, right? So those provisions also depend on the objectives that they have set, and accordingly they can give some additional benefits also, whether it's in terms of educational, social, or religious benefits. The unkeep of a periodical published mainly for the purpose of discussing questions affecting employers or workmen as such. So if they are doing some publications wherein everything will be discussed, what all problems they had, what all things got settled, what all they want to achieve in the future, all those publications or maintaining records and stuff, those also would be spent from general fund itself. Furtherance of any objects of which general fund of trade union may be spent. So we have mentioned, right, that for these purposes, general fund can be utilized. Now, in order to make sure that general funds are used for these purposes, if something else needs to be done, for that also general fund can be utilized. Okay, take for example, we are saying that they are providing some educational, social or religious benefits for members. Now for that purpose, if it is realized that for social or religious benefits, what they need is, they need a community hall to be set up, because that is something which is lacking in that area. If a community hall is being set up, which will be available maybe for free or for a very minimum cost to workers who want to organize something, that setting up of this community hall, for that purpose also general funds may be used. Okay, so for furtherance of any of those objectives for which general fund may be utilized, for that also we can again use general fund only, and accordingly the thing can be done, whatever is needed. Subject to any conditions contained in the notification, any objective notified by government. Apart from this also, this list is not like complete list, we cannot make any changes in it. But if the appropriate government feels that we can include certain other points as well, certain other objectives as well, that also can be done. And for that purpose, again, trade union will be allowed to make the expenses from their general fund. Is this part clear?
Yes, madam.
So this is the general fund which they will be utilizing for all the different purposes that basically the trade union does, right? These are the work that they do. They work for benefit of the workmen, and also in case workman is suffering any loss or any obligation, there also they would be entitled, or they would be getting the benefits, or their obligations will be shared by the trade union over there. So these are general expenses from the general fund that we have. Now, apart from the general fund, there should be a separate fund for political purposes. Now, when we say political purposes, this fund cannot be used for those general purposes, but it is only for politics related purposes. Like if some members of the trade union, they want to join any sort of okay, so if the separately, this amount will be separately imposed on the members of trade union, and for promotion of civic and political interest of its members only it will be used. If some members of the trade union decide to join maybe legislative body that we have, right, a state legislature, or might be some other local authority or something, before, during or after election, in connection with the candidature of election, for that purpose it may be utilized. From there money can be utilized to promote their interest. The holding of any meeting or distribution of any literature or document in support of such candidate, if they are printing some leaflets or something, or other documents relating to the candidate, for those also whatever is needed. Maybe they are organizing meeting within the organization itself to make the members aware, whatsoever it is, for that purpose it can be used. Meeting and distribution of documents, payment of expenses incurred whether directly or indirectly by a candidate or prospective candidate for election at the time of filing of nomination, or at the time of joining a party, whatever expenses are incurred, those also will be borne. Maintenance of any person who is member of any legislative body constituted under Constitution or any other local authority, whatever will be needed for that also it may be utilized. Registration of electors or selection of candidate for a legislative body constituted. Registration or their nomination or other purposes, whatever may be needed. Political literature or distribution, holding of meetings, whatsoever is needed for those. So these are for the general purposes. Otherwise, whatever work the trade union does, right, everything is almost included here. This is the main function of them which they would be doing. Apart from this, also in order to save their interest, if someone is deciding to join in some local body, legislature or something like that, there also trade union would be providing assistance, but it will be purely from the political fund that they are separately maintaining. I guess there was one question on how general funds can be utilized. Okay, so there you can mention it is coming under section 15, and these are the reasons for which it can be used. It's not just limited to these points, but the list may be further extended by giving a notification. Some additional points may be included in it, and also whatever else needs to be done in order to ensure these points are satisfied. For that purpose also, again, general fund only will be utilized. So regarding their obligations or their privileges, right? We have these two provisions. Okay, so otherwise we have some criminal provisions under IPC where a person may be charged. Okay, take for example, there are 2-3 people who decided together to commit some crime. Okay, that itself, the deciding, planning and stuff, that itself is considered as a separate crime, which is called as criminal conspiracy. Okay, we have provisions under IPC as well for criminal conspiracy, and that itself is a separate crime. So if there were few people who decided that, okay, we will be killing this person, in that case, he will be charged for criminal conspiracy also, plus attempt to murder or murder, whatever it is. Okay, so criminal conspiracy in itself is a criminal offense. Now, when trade disputes are there, the union is deciding to go on a strike or to put their points forward or whatever they are doing. Definitely it's a group of people, they would come together, decide the matter. So in such cases, if they are deciding something together, we cannot make them liable for criminal conspiracy because the main purpose itself would be otherwise affected, right? We are organizing the trade union, we are getting it registered, we are giving it so many rights and liabilities just to ensure that people are free, right? The workman's voice is being raised by the representatives because they are not able to do it themselves. So it's very important that they sit together, decide the matter, and then someone represents it before the employer. So that is why it is said that they will not be held liable under provisions of criminal conspiracy under Indian Penal Code. Okay, so this immunity is given under section 17, that no office bearer or member of a registered trade union shall be punished under subsection 2 of section 120B of IPC in respect of any agreement made between the members for the purpose of furthering any object of the trade union as specified in section 15, unless the agreement is an agreement to commit an offense. So under that agreement, if they are deciding that, okay, we are going to go on a strike, we are doing this, we are doing that, for such general reasons, case cannot be filed against them under criminal conspiracy. But again, members also cannot take the benefit of this provision that they are planning a murder or something, right? If they are trying to commit some criminal offense, in such a case, they can be held liable under section 120B. Otherwise, for general purposes, right? Whatever we have studied here, that for educational, religious, for raising a dispute, for going on a strike and all of those, then they cannot be held liable for the offense of criminal conspiracy. So it is giving them immunity from criminal charges that may be imposed against them. Okay, so criminal conspiracy as given under IPC section 120B, they will be getting immunity whether it's office bearers or the members of trade union, because it's very obvious that they would be sitting together and deciding what needs to be done, how they can achieve their objectives and stuff. Then under section 18, we have immunity from civil suit in certain cases. This was relating to criminal charges, right? This is on civil suit in certain cases. No suit or other legal proceeding shall be maintainable in any court, civil court, against the registered trade union or their office bearers or members in respect of any act done in contemplation or furtherance of trade dispute to which members of the trade union is a party, on the ground only that such act induces some other person to break a contract of employment, or that it is in interference with trade business employment of some other purpose or with the rights of some other person to the dispute of his capital or his labor as his will. So when they are into a trade union, right, whether it is the office bearers or the members, being the workers, being members of the trade union, for whatever they are doing, right, no civil suit will be maintainable in any civil court in respect of any act that they are doing in order to settle some trade disputes to which member of the trade union is a party, only on the ground that such act induces some other person to break contract of employment. Might be under some contract of employment, one person said that whatever business is coming to the trade union, whatever other deliverables, we are going to complete it. Okay, one person had made that commitment under his agreement that I am going to complete it within 24 hours, whatever is coming. But then just because there was a strike going on or stuff, this person could not complete his deliverables within 24 hours. So they cannot say that, okay, this person broke his contract, his whatever he had promised only because of this trade union. So we are filing a civil suit. That cannot be done, because even if they were going on a strike, they would do it legally after giving notice and all those things. So in such cases, the trade union plus its members would get some immunity from civil suits in some cases. That this employer cannot file a case that you broke the promise that you made under the contract, right? That you had promised to do these things within this many hours, you failed to do it. So we are instituting a civil suit for breach of trust, or might be for breach of contract. Those would not be done by them. Okay. A registered trade union shall not be liable in any suit or other legal proceeding in any civil court in respect of any tortious act done in contemplation or furtherance of trade dispute by an agent of trade union if it is proved that such person acted without the knowledge of or contrary to express instructions given by executive of trade union. So what is tortious act? We have this subject called law of torts, right? So tortious act as in any sort of wrong that is coming under torts, that we are doing some wrong which is affecting private rights of an individual. Okay, so take for example, there is a trade union who decided that we are going on a strike on 1st of October 2021 from morning till evening time, we are going on a strike. And accordingly, they were given clear instructions also that how this entire process would go. That you should not be going to work that day, but rather you should all gather in this place where we will sit for like a peaceful strike. Okay, we will be sitting there and we will be protesting. All the rules and regulations were laid down by trade union, but out of those group of workers, right, there was one worker who was like very pissed off with the the employer. What he did is he started causing damage to the property of this industry, or might be he tried to enter somewhere where he was not allowed to, any sort of thought that he is doing, right? He might be tried to block the entrance of this industry. So those were not based on what agreement or what was agreed by the trade union, right? Trade union collectively decided that this is what we are doing. Apart from that, we are not doing anything. If there also some private member does something, then you cannot make the trade union liable for it, but the private individual will be held liable because it was without knowledge of trade union and it was in violation of express instructions given to him, right? In such act also, if he is doing something which is a wrong under law of torts, then the person would be personally made liable rather than making the trade union liable. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, madam.
So this part you can read that there are these funds, we have provisions how it can be used, then we have liabilities as well, where one is criminal liability. It talks about criminal conspiracy. For civil we have this, right? There are two liabilities, one is breach of contract, another one is tortious act. So for both of these you cannot make the trade union liable because it is something done by the private individual. So these immunities are given to the trade union, okay, not like the members are getting it. If members are doing something wrong, definitely they will be held liable or answerable under it.